Hey home bakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, and a proper homemade pizza is one of life's most majestic pleasures, and you can take that craft into your own hands and make something amazing so long as you follow the pizza principles. Roll that theme tune! Hello to you all and welcome back to the Bake with Jack YouTube channel, where I make videos to help you make bread in the only way that I know how, and in true Bake with Jack style, by dissecting the characteristics of something, by asking the question, why? Why is that thing the way that it is? We can begin to discover the principles behind that one thing. We can begin to understand, educating our minds and putting the power into our hands to make something incredible in our own kitchens, to come up with our own recipes, to push the boundaries and create our own epic bake with insert name here pizzas to share with the world. So let us consider the perfect pizza for a moment. For me, a pizza needs to be thin. It needs to be bigger than my plate. Round ideally, but that's not essential. It needs a crispy underneath and a puffy crust, and even though the dough is only made out of 4 ingredients, flour, water, salt and yeast, flavour needs to be present in the base itself. For the toppings are a minimalist affair. A carefully considered selection of small and tasty morsels each have earned their podium place upon my soft and silky base. And so, as with all things, just like in the bagel video we spoke about, the pizza is born out of nothing into being, tweaked and refined and perfected and evolved over years of practice by professionals baking pizza all day, every day, employing tactics of practicality that just so happen to make the final product a better one. Coincidence? No. For nothing truly is. It's a product of those practicalities. Every characteristic comes together in craft to create the perfect prime pizza. So where do we start? Well, I guess anywhere that we like. Pizza dough is flour, water, salt and yeast. The same foundation as our beloved bagels. The same foundation as any other bread for that matter. It's not particularly wet, for it doesn't need to be, and in the same hands there's no real reason to make it particularly dry either. It is, for the most part, characterless, indistinguishable from any other white bread dough. Or is it? A key factor in the production of pizza dough is time. Time is what the dough needs to develop wicked flavour. Time is what the flour needs to be able to absorb all that moisture, to fully hydrate, making for a crispy underside. Time allows the gluten to relax enough for us to be able to push our pizzas out bigger than our plates. Time is so needed, and as we all know by now, there really is no substitute for it. Time. Yeah? So hey, that's easy, I hear you say. We just make a white bread dough, roll it up into balls and leave it in the fridge till tomorrow, right? Well, it's kind of, yeah, but no. Yes, it is the same 4 ingredients, flour, water, salt and yeast, but if we made a straight white bread dough, it would get so puffy. It would puff like crazy in the bowl as a whole. It would puff like crazy when we put our balls in the fridge overnight. So that if we are lucky enough to find they haven't exploded all over the edges of the tray when we get them out the following day, we'll take a puffy piece, push it, degas it, and it would immediately go shrink back up into a tight and bouncy disc again, and it will resist you every step of the way as you try and stretch it out. So what do we do? Well, just like our bagel dough, we make a slow mover. We make a dough with minimum yeast. After all, a pizza is flat, right? We're not in the game this time around for volume increase, like in the case of a soft and fluffy and puffy roll, for example. We're not making a burger bap. Our slow-moving pizza dough balls tick over steadily in the fridge overnight, not getting massive, developing wicked delicious flavour, letting the flour absorb the moisture and allowing the gluten to just relax until it comes to the following day when you shape it up, stretch it out, tease it out by hand. Traditionally, pizzas are pushed out by hand, and there's a reason for that. It's gentle, it's delicate, it avoids us squashing that outer edge, which eventually becomes our puffy crust. It's care and attention in the craft, and a craft is love. If you roll a pizza out with a rolling pin, you'll squash out all the air and you'll get to the top edge and it'll go pop, 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 and all the bubbles will burst where you've destroyed the structure in the side completely. You will lose that puffy crust and the opportunity to create those little burnt black bubbles around the edge, which are nice. Teased out with fingertips or stretched over the table helps to keep that natural structure. And I'm going to put this down now because I feel like I'm threatening everybody. And that's not what I was going for. The gentle weight from a small amount of sauce applied to the top surface is just enough to keep that top from puffing up too much without squashing it back into dough again. A beautifully round disc of pizza dough is what we're shooting for here, right? And it's tricky, I get it, but I'd rather have a hand pushed out pizza in the shape of Africa than one that's rolled into a circle with a rolling pin. Consider the extreme example. When you witness a professional pizzaiolo spinning and throwing a disc of dough up into the air, they're not just doing that for fun, or at least not entirely for fun. It's a contactless, frictionless force applied from the center of the dough all the way to every inch of the outside edge equally, producing an evenly stretched out pizza dough with no holes in it for sauce to go through, no especially thin patches for sauce to soak through, making for a soggy pizza, and then when it's done, it's topping time. When it's pizza day in your house, it's so easy to pile on a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and just a little bit more cheese on there. A little bit of that as well, cool, because that's well tasty. I get it, you're hungry, you're ready for it, but with a pizza, more is not always more. In fact, less is more. Toppings on a proper pizza are carefully chosen. They are small in size and evenly distributed with care for a reason. And it's not because they're trying to save cash. It's because they know that too much toppings makes for soggy pizza. A pizza will cook in a proper pizza oven for 1 or maybe 2 minutes, and in my oven here, 6 or 7, and that's not very long. You can't put a chicken drumstick on a pizza or a sausage because they just won't cook in time. Instead, we skin that sausage. We crumble the sausage meat on top of our pizza into small pieces, or we dry cure that sausage and slice it thinly and call it salami or pepperoni. You see, everything here has its place on the planet, has a reason for its very existence. And for salami, it's pizza. A small amount of sauce to bridge the gap between the flavours and bring some freshness, but not enough to make things soggy. Olive oil to allow the flavours to communicate with one another like, nice to meet you, oregano. My name is pineapple. And then because a pizza is so thin, it needs to be baked fast and hot, top and bottom at the same time. If we bake something so thin, a perfectly pushed disc of dough with precisely placed toppings on a low heat, it would take a while for the toppings to be cooked, while the base would turn into a cracker. Hello, supermarket pizzas. It needs high heat across the top for the pizza to stay moist and toast off those toppings. We need high heat underneath for the bottom to catch up with the top. We need to bake it on a stone to seal off the base and bring the crispy underside. You see how everything comes together here? All the properties play their part harmoniously for what is the alternative? If the dough was too thick, it would be too cakey and the toppings would all burn by the time it's fully baked. If we stacked all the toppings, it would be too wet and the moisture would soak through to the base, making crispiness unachievable. Dough needs time to be able to stretch it nice and thin, and we need to stretch it nice and thin to be able to happily accommodate all the socially distanced toppings we wanted. It needs to bake on a high heat on a stone because it's so thin it would get too dry otherwise. You see how it all comes together. Everything here is done. Everything has happened here for a reason. Tweaked, refined by professionals over decades. And we can use those principles ourselves at home to create something pretty darn delicious. I'm going to put a pizza recipe up on my blog. A pizza recipe. Not the pizza recipe to end all other pizza recipes. A pizza recipe that combines the principles and is practical for me to make in my kitchen at home. It is my hope that you have a go and then, using the principles we've discovered, create your own amazing pizza that works for you in and around your home life. Tweak them, adjust them to you so you can create something exceptional despite everything else going on in your life. Have fun with it. I hope you learned something through this, and I look forward to seeing you next time for another one. See you later. Bye.